Shalom, shalom. Call halal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone. And peace and salutations to the elect of the nation of Israel. And to speckled bird Israelites that are scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth. To y'all say shalom. And shalom to all you brothers and sisters that maybe listen and learn to these videos. And shalom to all you brothers that are out there laboring out there in the highways and byways, doing the work of the Lord in these latter times. That's trying to wake up the elect, and it's magnifying the true names of Yahweh and Yahushai, which Yahweh is the name of who the world inwardly calls God, or the Father, or the Almighty, and Yahushai is the name of who the world inwardly calls Jesus, or those other names that are not the name. And the Israelites today are who you call black people, Hispanic, Native American, Cuban, Jamaican, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Haitian, Guatemalans to Panamanians. Those are Israelites today, always have been and always will be. This truth is only for the Israelites. The Bible is for the Israelites. It was written by Israelites. It's not for the other nations. That's another lesson for another day. But yeah, I'm trying to get into this lesson. This lesson is about basically Jalen Rose, who is a commentator. He's like a spokesperson for ESPN. He used to be in the NBA, but he's not in the NBA no more. So I came across this video actually, I think either yesterday or 2 days ago, and I was trying to do a video on it, but my phone kept saying, low storage, or whatnot. So Lord willing, I'm able to do this video this time, get the video out. But basically, it's about Mount Rushmore. He basically spoke about how people in the NBA, or the commentators, how they speak about who is the greatest player, and who's not. But basically, when they use the term Mount Rushmore, they say like who's the Mount Rushmore of the NBA's greats. Like that's what they'll use the term Mount Rushmore for. That's basically what he said. But he wanted people to stop using the term Mount Rushmore when they talk about greats in the NBA, because he knows the true history. What really took place behind that monument or statue of Mount Rushmore. He knows the history behind the people that's on there, because it's a statue of former presidents, the so-called founding fathers, on the side of a mountain in South Dakota, I believe. So now knowing that history, it makes sense for you not to want to use anything concerning it, because you know the history of it. And of course you got people that's gonna be mad and people that's gonna be like, oh, it was the past. It's not that big of a deal. That's what all these so-called white people say. They always say stuff like that. But the Lord hasn't forgotten, what you did. And don't say, oh, it wasn't me, it wasn't my family. Well, we've all been here before. That's what you don't understand. But, anyways, it says 144, call halal Yahweh Shemel Shai. Let's get this in the book of Isaiah real quick, in chapter 5. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Right? It says, woe to him that call evil good and good evil. Right? And that put darkness for light and put light for darkness, and that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Right? And I wouldn't say he's necessarily calling it, he didn't say the word evil, but he just wanted people to stop using that term, concerning great players. Which Mount Rushmore, it is an evil thing, because how did they get that land? How are they able to carve their faces on the side of the mountain? That's like the biggest I told you so in the most wicked way possible. Because, I believe it's literally over a Native American reservation as I speak. And nobody wants to talk about that though. And how they got that land, and that the former presidents whose faces are on the side of the mountain, they were all slave owners. Nobody wants to talk about that. But, whenever Israelite, Jake comes out, against, Esau, Edom, then everybody wants to come against him. This proves that this is not our kingdom. It doesn't matter your status or where you are at, in this society. We don't have a voice. This is not our world. We are not running anything. We're slaves in this man's kingdom. Now, we might not be physically in slavery no more. We don't have chains or shackles around our feet, but it's more of a mental thing now. If you ain't walking up to this truth or you just rejected it, the Lord blinded you, and you gonna bow that image, you're gonna bow that knee to the image, of Bill, which is ultimately taking his mark, which is that CHIP, ultimately. But I'm gonna get this scripture real quick. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, and what was that, verse 16? It says, "Thou art filled with shame for glory." Right, because people saying that, people using that term, "Oh, this is my Mount Rushmore." They're not acknowledging that dark history or the dark past of it. Because that's what it really is. It's not really anything to glory about. So all that shame was coming out. This ain't the first time somebody, that has status, that was an Israelite that came out and said certain things. This ain't the first time, and it won't be the last. It says, "Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered." Right. It's time for you to go down, Esau. It's time for you to go what we went through, which is ultimately slavery. It says, "The cup of also the right hand should be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory." And this is a form of it. This is a form of it because he's talking about them not using it, so it shouldn't even be up there at all. It should be destroyed, but I doubt that's gonna happen. But I do remember there being a time, probably maybe like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, to where they were like taking down a lot of like statues, a lot of monuments of slave owners, which were all so-called white people, of course. KKK leaders. This is like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 2020 or 2019, where they were taking down a lot of statues of these so-called white people that did things to our people, and they basically destroyed it, and they never put it back up. That proves that this man's kingdom is over, is finished, and we're almost at that time of Jacob's trouble, and that CHIP being mandatory, and persecution. We're getting close to all these different times, man, because Esau Edom ain't gonna just go out without no fight. It ain't gonna happen, It ain't gonna happen. This man has been in power for quite some time, and for us to wake back up and start understanding certain things, and we're seeing that things ain't right, and we're starting to say stuff about it. He ain't having that, man. This is Job chapter 14 and verse 5. It says, "Seeing his days are determined, and the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass." Right. And that monument, that mountain that has the faces of the so-called founding fathers of America, on it. Hey, that's gonna be destroyed by nuclear missiles if they don't take it down. Which, like I said, I doubt they're gonna do that. But it's gonna be destroyed anyway. This whole land is gonna be destroyed by nuclear fire. One day, and the Lord's gonna return, which is our Messiah, a dark-skinned man with the white afro, and he's gonna save the children of whom you put in slavery, the children of Israel. And we gonna be over you. That day is coming, and that's coming fast. I'm gonna get this in the book of Isaiah chapter 14 real quick. What is it? Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 20. Right? This is I'm gonna get this in verse 11. It says, "Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows." Right, that happiness, that gladness, your music is trash, all that partying, you used to do, rejoicing over us, that's coming to an end. Now y'all starting to feel the curses. Now y'all starting to know what it feels like to be hated, to be made fun of, to be looked at as the scum of the earth. The worm is spread under thee, right? Death is coming to get you, you Edomites, man. And the worms cover thee. That's talking about death because, when you pick up a rock, or when you pick up something that's been on the ground for a long time, it's usually worms under it. That's usually when something has decayed or something under there or eroded away. And that's how your kingdom is going to be. And that's ultimately going to be all you Edomites physically. Verse 12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven? Right? How is your glorious kingdom being stripped from you? You know, because the Lord's doing it. You know, old Lucifer, which is Esau Edom, it's not, you know, Satan. Because Lucifer means light bearer, because they are the ones that have the light. They are the ones that lead the way. They are the ones that deem what is right, what is wrong. You know, they tell you how to live life and how to not live life. You know, it says, son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations. All right, how are you? Because the Lord is doing this, man. The Lord is having the average Israelite come out and say certain things about you and to realize certain things, even your own people. You know? I'm gonna get this in Mark chapter 3 and 26. It says, and if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. Right. You know, you Edomites are against each other. You know? So this kingdom ain't got much longer, man. You know? This kingdom ain't got much longer. And I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't see Jalen Rose, you know, on ESPN for some time. They might suspend him for saying something like that. You know, that's what that's really what happens in the unrighteous kingdom, man. You know. I'm gonna get this in Psalms chapter 49 and verse 11. And I'll probably close out because I don't want this lesson to be too long. It says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They shall call the lands after their own names. Right. You see? That's what they thought was gonna happen. You know, when they carved them faces on the side of that mountain, you know, the so-called founding fathers, those presidents, you know, they thought that was gonna be there forever, or nobody was gonna ever speak out against it, or nobody was gonna ever do anything, you know. And he's just speaking on it, but you know, but one day it will be destroyed, and you know, we know that through faith. You know, we understand that. You know, they will get paid back for everything that they have done. We get this in Sirach chapter 10 and verse 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. You see, that's how they got, you know, this kingdom. That's how they got to carve their faces on the side of a mountain, you know, which they did not discover. You know, because of unrighteous dealings. You know, rape, robbery, murdering, pillaging, killing. You know, and everything that they've done is going to be paid back unto them. Thus said the Lord. You know, so I'm going to close out with that. I don't want this lesson to be too long. I'm going to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash, and double honor to the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect of the nation of Israel. It says 144, call hello, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You know, and shalom to the elect. I'm going to say, wah, blah, blah, blah.